In this tutorial we'll take a look at the F350 SSD6 Deep template, which is one of the slope display units. This floor unit can be found in the point of sale library under the shelves category. It can be constructed from corrugated cardboard and assembled almost entirely without glue. Its customizable design and multiple configurations make it a perfect display for small packages. Its features include parametric resizing, adjustable shelving, slope adjustment, and an option to use the package size, quantity, and spacing to determine overall size, and many more. Let's have a look.
So we got our display here, and we're going to look at the new features as I said. So I'm going to click on dimensions. We have quite a number of features, so I'm going to go through them quickly so that you can see what they are. I'm going to change the base height on this to 200, and that way we'll have a shorter base height. These slot width and slot gap refers to the slots that are here, slot and tab, the slots in the shelves and the slots in the back, and the tabs on the shelves here. So we won't change them right now, but that's where you would change them. The tongue is this tongue at the bottom of the top unit that slips into the bottom unit. So that's where you would change that. We have some new settings for the header right now, and looking at our header right now, we can see that this is the header for the standard unit, and if I change that height to 0, you'll see that the header is gone. So you can easily add that header by putting a dimension there for the height, and a number of things that you can do. The skirt here, the skirt height and slope refers to this slope here. If you set that slope to 0, you'll see that it will come down to basically the height of the shelf, where the shelf tabs into the back. And so I'm going to set that back at 200, and not 2000 but 200. So we have that. We also have this radius for the back of the header, for the back header here, and if I click on the radius, and right now it's 0, so if I just put a number, let's say I put in the width of the cabinet, which is currently 457, let's just say I put 500 in. It's automatically going to say 500 is too large for you to radius, so it's going to figure out what the radius should be and adjust the radius accordingly. Now what this is doing on this particular item here is it's radiusing the corners. So you can see there's just a little bit of flat there because what's happened is that the height of the header is below half the height of, or half the width of the unit. So if I was to change that radius, if I was to change that height to say 400, and then let's say we put 500 in here again, and we're going to end up with exactly half of our width, which is right here. So that sets us up there. Let's go back to 200 on here, and we've adjusted that. You can also go much less, so you could say, for example, you want 80 millimeters on the corners and end up with a top like that. The other option that we have here, and I'm not going to radius it right now, but our pop out. And what this does is when you fold up this unit, this section right here is going to pop out to the front. So instead of having the header in the back, it's going to be right in the front. And you can also radius the top and bottom of this particular item. So I'm going to click on that. You'll see that the radius is 600 for the top and bottom here. And let's do something. Let's change this radius to 300. And I can do the top and bottom independently, so I can end up with a different radius on the top than I have on the bottom. I'm going to go down here and change the width to 600 so we can kind of see what goes on there, and see that radius is still in there. But if I was to change that radius to, say, 200, it's automatically going to set it to the whatever the max that it can go. So that's showing that pop out. And what I'm going to do down here, I can set the number of shelves. I can set the height of the shelves. In this case, I want them to be 200, and the depth of the shelf. Now keep in mind that this is setting the shelf depth, meaning that the shelf is on a slope, so the sides of the cabinet are not going to be quite as deep as the shelves are if they're on a slope. So we're going to go ahead and set this to 400. And now let's kind of have a look at our display in 3D and see what we have here. So I'm going to go to 3D, and you can see that let's turn this around and we'll take a look at it. See how that pop out is out there in the front. So if we disassemble it, if we disassemble right now, and if I unfold it, we're going to watch that pop out go back into place in the flat sheet. So that's what the pop out does. It brings it right out to the front and gives you that header in the front so that you can put your illustrations on it. Then we'll assemble the unit, and let's zoom into that. And you can see it's pretty nifty. And of course, like I said, you can make all the adjustments, and you can even make those adjustments while you're in the 3D. We're going to set that header without a radius on it. Then we're going to remove the pop out. You can see that gives you our back header. We'll put a radius on it like that. The last thing that I want to show you, and I'll go back to the 2D, and that is this package parameter. And what that does is it allows you to set up your shelving based on the size of your packages. So right now we can see that the height of our package is 76 millimeter, the width is 50, and the depth is 38. In this next area down here, we can set the number of packages that we want across and deep. We can set here the gap that we want around from the top of the packages, and I'm actually going to change this to be 80, so we can see what that does. Now we've got room at the top of our packages to get them out from the shelves, and then we have this gap on the sides. What that does is allows us just a little bit of room so that the packages aren't too tight in there, and it gives us a lot of flexibility on setting up this unit. And like I said, we'll go back to 3D and look at this one, and it's let's see, that's how it would look set up for those packages. So that about does it. I think the only thing I might have missed is this slope here is underneath the shelf parameters. That is the slope on the shelves from back to front, and then the rail height is setting this rail here in the front. So for example, if I change that rail height to be 64 millimeters, you can see that it's going to change. We may want to change the top of the or the package size to 100, and the gap at the top would be, we'll just leave it at 80. You can see how everything changes dynamically and parametrically so that you can build the right kind of display unit that you want. So I hope this gives you a good understanding of what you can do, and have fun. Thank you.